Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Rick, and today we'll be looking at the Boyuusound NC19A. So this video took me a little bit longer than I anticipated. The Chinese company Boyuusound reached out to me via email, and they asked if I'd like to test out their NC19A and send me a product link. So here it is right here, and I frankly didn't know what the heck this thing was. The product says it increases gain, thickness, and density, whatever that means. So after quite a few back and forths, not understanding what I was working with, I just told them, sure, what the heck, send it over to me and I'll give it a shot. Now they were very nice. It was just the communication barrier was very difficult to cut through. But hopefully this video helps you skip through all the questions you might have to make you make an educated decision. But I'll tell you before you get started, I do love their product once I got to know what it was really about. Looking at the picture online, I thought when receiving the unit it was going to be quite a bit larger. But here's what I got. A nice little cardboard box. Now I personally love it when units come in this cardboard. I personally don't feel that if you're buying a value product, they should be spending any money on the packaging on the outside. I want to get the best possible value for the product on the inside. But to each their own. If you feel differently, I respect it as well. Some people want a very nice unboxing experience even with a value product under 50 bucks. I mean, if they're going to spend a couple bucks on the box, they're going to have to make that up somewhere else. So you have to recognize that. So personally, I dig the fact that they used a very basic box with a clean label. But on the inside it's very well packaged. We have nice thick foam all the way around, a little information card that we'll get to in a second, and the unit in a dust-free cloth. So a tiny little guy right here. And I thought this guy was going to be quite a bit larger than it is, but it's very well built, very sturdy, very solid, and it's super simple. You have one set of inputs on RCA and one set of outputs. So what the heck is it? All right, here is the label here. And as you can tell, it says Boyuusound Improve Audio Amplifier, Passive Signal, Gain, Density, Thickness. On the back, this particular model, because they do make 4 models, this one is recommended for mobile phones, sound cards, Bluetooth decoder, and other devices. So sound goes in on the input side, then comes out, and that goes over to your amplifier. Magnification says it's double. Input impedance at 600 ohms. Output impedance is 2.4K. So it turns out that this little guy is a step-up transformer. Now I've never seen one at 2 times. I have seen them with quite a bit more gain, like the small ones that Sony makes, but those are 20 times. And usually those are used as phono preamps for a movie magnet cartridge, where you're getting anywhere from 0.2 to 0.7 microvolts, and you want to increase that to something that your preamplifier or amplifier can work with. Now this one is just 2 times, so I just put it in my system and started testing. So I tested with 3 different devices. I started with the SMSL raw MDA1, which does output a full 2 volts. Then I switched over to an iPad with the signal coming out of the 3.5 millimeter on top. And finally with a portable DAC. This is the Muse Hi-Fi M5 Ultra, and it does have a 3.5 millimeter single-ended out and a 4.4 balanced. However, this does not have a line out, so it's not at line level. And this is how I tested. Now I don't have any sophisticated measurement equipment, so the meter on my recorder is just meant to give you a simple visualization of the audio. I started by sending the recorder a 1 kHz tone with the DAC set to 0, which is 100% output, which is a 2 volt signal. And as you can see on the meters, we're hitting minus 12 dB, which is right before clipping, so a perfect signal. Next I connected the NC19A, and I gave it that same signal, and you see now we're into clipping. We're about 5 to 6 dB hot. So I manually brought the volume down slowly, and we went to around minus 5 dB, and that's where we had no clipping, and this was the ideal volume. And this could give you a little extra headroom if you really need the volume. Now onto the iPad, the same 1 kHz tone track. I'll bring the volume on up, and this gets us to an output on the meters at approximately minus 32 decibels. Now with the Boyuusound Step-Up Transformer, and that's getting us to minus 27 decibels. So a nice little bump, but still not putting us into clipping, although it would be nice if we were a little bit hotter. So now we're testing with my preferred scenario here. We're sending signal from the phone over to a portable DAC, and from there down to my recorder. This DAC has 3 gain settings, low, medium, and high. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play here. We'll look at the signal there. And low is looking at about minus 34. Medium is looking at minus 29, and high at minus 24 decibels. So low, medium, high. Now we have the Boyuusound in, and we'll go ahead and play a signal. That gets us our low at about minus 30 decibels. We'll try medium. Medium gets us to around minus 24, and high gets us to about minus 20. So low, medium, high. So this unit definitely gives you the gain. As for that density and thickness, I don't quite know about that. I ran a song through the SMSL over to the Boyuusound and over to my recorder, and I recorded the song full level on the DAC, but I brought my recorder gain down to minus 12. Then I removed the Boyuusound and recorded that song again straight from the DAC, but this time with the recorder's gain at 0. I imported those tracks over to Audacity, and on the left you can see the waveform of the first recording, which is going through the Boyuusound but leveled down, and on the right is a recording straight through the DAC. Then I selected that first track and I increased the gain to match the track straight from the DAC. Now if there was any thickness or density added, I'd expect to see it here, but to me they look fairly the same. Now that's a good thing. I personally wouldn't want this unit to be adding anything except for gain, and I think that's what it does. So here's the first thing that I noticed when connecting the Boyuusound with the SMSL DAC. Now again, that one outputs 2 volts, so I switched it from fixed output to variable, and I did have to bring that volume down. From there I fed signal from the Boyuusound over to 4 different amplifiers. I tested with the Shit Wrecker, which is a Class A transistor-based 2 watts per channel amp. Then I bumped up the power and tried it with the Doak Audio F5, which is a 3 watt per channel Class A tube amp. Next on to my Iota VX PA3, which is a 50 watt per channel Class AB amp. And finally a Doak H7 Pro, which is a 100 watt per channel Class D amp. As for the device and all 4 of those amps, frankly I did the same thing with all of them. So I don't think the amp topology matters much at all with this step-up transformer. Now the Class A amps were easier on the ear when they were going into clipping, whereas the AB and D amps for sure didn't like too much voltage. Now of course that only matters when we're sending the transformer too much power in. So in the first scenario with the SMSL, as it already puts out enough voltage, I really don't think you need the step-up transformer. Now if for some reason you want that extra headroom, well go for it, but there's a higher chance than not that you're going to clip your amplifier. And if you don't, what you will do is you'll add a good amount of saturation towards the top end of your amplification. You'll definitely want to be bringing the volume down on your DAC. With the iPad it's a different story. I think there's great results to be had there, but at the $100 price point, I don't know if it's something that a lot of people will go for. I think at that point it might be better to spend a little more money and get yourself a DAC. That's going to give you better clarity and most likely up to those full 2 volts to give your amplifier enough power to do what it has to do. Now that's not to say that there's 0 applications for the Boyuusound in a tablet. This is a fully passive device. If you're in a situation where you need to conserve your battery life, maybe on a long camping trip or working somewhere remote where you might not have access to plug in one more device like a DAC, well then yes, the step-up transformer route is going to save you on power consumption. So on to the final test, and this is where I really love this device, and for this reason I think I'm going to go ahead and buy one myself because I think it'll be great to have with a portable DAC. As you've seen with the output results, the Boyuusound makes the M5 Ultra usable with a home system. So now not only can I keep the M5 with me when I'm traveling, when I get back home, I can plug it into my home stereo system with the transformer and I'm good to go. I really think that's the best scenario here. This DAC will be coming out shortly and this MSRP is going to be around $300. So $300 plus another $100 puts you at $400. And to me that's a good deal. Now some DACs do give you a line out, which will provide enough voltage to give you some real thump on your amplifier, but that won't always be the case. So in this scenario, I loved how this sounded. And this particular DAC has an awesome feature where you can run it on its tube mode, but on the high gains with the volume cranked up, the tubes do get a little crunchy and I do hear some clipping. With the Boyuusound, I can bring the gain on the M5 Ultra down to medium and I still have plenty of output to put any of my amps at a really comfortable level. Particularly on that Shit Wrecker or the Doak F5, those low wattage amplifiers definitely didn't do great when I tested with the DAC alone. But again, with the transformer, it was night and day. So if you have a dongle DAC that you really love and would love to use with your home system, I would say seriously consider the Boyuusound transformer, the NC19A. So for me, the Boyuusound NC19A is a definite recommend. I still don't quite understand what the next two do. The NC25C, that's a 20 times step-up transformer there, and that's the one that you might use instead of a phono preamp. I think I'm actually going to reach out to Boyuusound and see if they can send me one of those for testing as well. I'd love to see how that one does in my system as well. So I hope this clarified a couple things on this particular product. I'll leave a link to it on Amazon down below. Now this is just my experience, but I hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.